What if everything you've learned about random events is absolutely incorrect? What if the world around you runs on a secret network of meaningful connections that most people never discover? Those moments when you think of someone and they immediately call, when you choose an unexpected path and it saves your life, and when the right chance arises just when you need it. These are not coincidental events or statistical anomalies. They're direct communications from an intelligent cosmos that is always attempting to interact with you. For thousands of years, powerful institutions have attempted to conceal this information. Why? Because once you grasp how synchronicity works, you are impossible to control. You cease being a passive victim of circumstance and realize your full power as someone who actively makes their own reality. The school system, media, and scientific establishment all rely on your belief that life is arbitrary and meaningless. What if it is the biggest falsehood ever told? Let me ask you a personal question. How often have you had that creepy feeling when you are thinking about someone and your phone vibrates with their message? How many times have you been compelled to adjust your plans, only to discover later that this decision saved you from tragedy or opened up a fantastic opportunity? Most people view these encounters as purely happenstance. But what if I told you that they are exact interventions by a universal intelligence attempting to direct your life? Carl Jung, the famed psychologist, was the first modern scientist to seriously investigate what he called significant coincidences, which are events that appear unrelated by regular cause and effect, but have profound personal importance. Jung's work was groundbreaking. He simply scraped the surface of a much deeper truth. In his private writings, Jung stated that he had uncovered something that could totally alter our perception of reality itself. Jung wrote in his personal notes, "These meaningful coincidences are mathematically precise, despite the fact that they appear to have no physical cause. They reflect a whole different perspective of how reality works. One that calls into question the fundamental assumptions of Western science regarding the nature of reality." Jung surmised, but never officially said, that these synchronicities demonstrate that the division of mind and matter is really an illusion. What Jung simply hinted to, we're going to investigate thoroughly. Synchronicity is more than just a fascinating psychological phenomenon that occurs infrequently. It is the core operating system of reality itself. It's how the universe's intellect communicates with you every day, offering advice, confirmation, and warnings, just when you need them. The apparent chaos and randomness of modern life is actually a skillfully crafted facade designed to conceal this truth from you. Here's what's been going on since your birth. You've been programmed to ignore the synchronistic messages that are continuously bombarding you. You were trained to believe only what can be measured, weighed, and calculated. Any experience that does not fit within this restrictive worldview is branded as superstition, coincidence, or wishful thinking. This programming is not accidental. It is a purposeful strategy to deprive mankind of its natural capacity to traverse reality using intuitive guidance. When people are unaware of synchronicity, they become ideal consumers, docile employees, and easily persuaded citizens. They search outside of themselves for solutions, validation, and guidance. However, synchronicity shows a terrible fact for those in authority. You were never intended to be a powerless victim of unforeseen circumstances. You've always taken an active role in building your own reality. Even if you didn't realize it, every event in your life is an external representation of your internal state, which includes your thoughts, emotions, beliefs, and energy patterns at any given instant. This creative capacity, the ability to directly alter what appears in your physical experience, may be the most closely guarded secret in human history. It's no coincidence that conventional science believes you're merely a random biological accident in a cold, mechanical cosmos. This story disconnects you from your full potential. When you start noticing synchronicities in your life, something irreversible happens. The curtain starts to lift. Hidden patterns become visible. Your communication with global intellect becomes more obvious and direct. This awakening poses a significant risk to external control systems. Because someone who knows synchronistic forces cannot be influenced using fear, scarcity, programming, or divide and conquer strategies. Learning to read synchronicities involves more than just intellectual curiosity. It is a revolutionary act of personal liberty. It's the first step in reclaiming the innate power you've always had. As the conscious producer of your experience, this potential has been latent beneath layers of social training that systematically deny reality's interconnectedness. The painful truth is this: you were never truly distinct from the universe you are viewing. Your consciousness isn't just a consequence of brain chemistry. It is a confined manifestation of the same universal awareness that pervades everything in existence. Synchronicities are the precise moments when this basic connectedness becomes temporarily visible, shattering the illusion of isolation that pervades everyday human experience. This concept did not emerge out of nowhere in modern times. It existed long before the 20th century gave it a name. Ancient civilizations were completely aware of the invisible web of important relationships. Indeed, the concealment of this knowledge is one of the most successful cover-ups in human history, systematically destroying millennia of accumulated knowledge about how reality works. The ancient Chinese codified this insight in the I Ching, an oracle system based solely on the idea that each moment in time possesses underlying properties that connect seemingly unrelated occurrences. What current science dismisses as a coincidence, the I Ching saw these as inherent representations of the universe's fundamental order. But here's something most folks don't know. The I Ching was not simply a philosophical doctrine. It was a precise method for deciphering the data patterns encoded in each moment of time. Ancient Chinese thinkers recognized that time itself contains texture, richness, and information content. They devised complex strategies for deriving meaning from the quantum foam of possibilities that envelopes each decision point. When people consulted the I Ching, they were not looking for fortunes or miraculous predictions. They were able to obtain real-time information about the energy currents moving through that particular point in the space-time continuum. Egyptian mystery schools had equally extensive knowledge of synchronistic navigation. The hieroglyphic system was not simply a written language. It was a symbolic technology that encoded multidimensional data into physical reality. Each hieroglyph served as a holographic trigger, capable of igniting particular states of consciousness and attracting the appropriate external experiences. Egyptian initiates learnt to read the synchronistic messages embedded in daily life with the same accuracy that modern scientists do. Math equations. The purposeful destruction of the Library of Alexandria involved more than merely burning books. It was about eradicating humanity's collective knowledge of awareness and technology. Thousands of texts explaining practical ways for conscious reality creation, synchronistic navigation, and multidimensional communication were methodically destroyed to ensure that future generations were unaware of their true talents. Shamanic civilizations on all continents intuitively understood what science is now, gradually establishing that reality is not objective or independent of consciousness. I am observing it. Instead, there is a continual interaction between the observer and what is being watched, involving both thought and physical matter. Shamans saw synchronicities as clear evidence of the underlying interplay between consciousness and reality. The ancient Indian Vedanta philosophy went much further, claiming that all visible separation is an illusion. What they called Maya, which we perceive as independent occurrences occurring at different times and places, are essentially ripples on the surface of one indivisible ocean of consciousness. In this philosophy, synchronicities are merely moments when the illusion of distinction vanishes, exposing the underlying unity of all things. Modern synchronicity study arose from the thorough documentation of inexplicable links between people's inner psychological states and external physical phenomena. For decades, researchers gathered evidence that external occurrences appeared to exactly mirror internal mental and emotional states. This consistent link between the inner and outer worlds gave rise to speculations about a unified field of information that functions outside of the normal constraints of space and time. Synchronicity implies an unbreakable connection between the observer's psychological state and external physical events. This viewpoint anticipated quantum physics discoveries that would later illustrate how conscious observation literally alters the behavior of matter at the atomic level. Quantum physics equations revealed that particles separated by huge distances are instantly coupled, providing the first mathematical explanation for what mystics have suspected for thousands of years. Mexican neurologist Jacobo Grinberg extended these theoretical principles by experimentally demonstrating human consciousness. He described the neural field as having a direct effect on physical reality. His innovative tests shown that persons in deep meditation states could significantly affect quantum coherence patterns in their immediate surroundings. Grinberg presented scientific proof for claims made by spiritual traditions over millennia. The mind doesn't just see reality. It actively participates in the creation process. Grinberg's important research was abruptly cut short when he inexplicably disappeared in 1994. The absence, which many attribute to the potentially world-changing significance of his discovery. His research significantly challenged the materialist paradigm by revealing that consciousness is more than just a byproduct of brain activity, but a basic force capable of directly interacting with the quantum field that underpins physical reality. But Grinberg's investigation uncovered something much more astounding, which conventional science still refuses to admit. He observed that advanced meditators could produce what he dubbed trippy, the power to influence events backwards in time in controlled laboratory conditions. He recorded examples in which meditation practitioners had measurable effects on random number generators and quantum random event generators minutes before they were aware of their existence. This backwards-flowing impact implies that awareness functions outside of the usual constraints of linear time. When you experience synchronicity, you are not simply getting a message from the cosmic field. You could be hearing messages from your future self, delivering assistance from a timeline in which you've already overcome your current issues. This would explain why synchronicities frequently contain precise, personally relevant information that is impossible for any external intelligence to have. Grinberg also studied the phenomena of brain synchrony among people who had formed strong emotional bonds. When one person in a bonded pair was shown a flashing light, the other person's brain patterned. Even when they were separated by hundreds of miles and unable to communicate normally. This implies that consciousness induces non-local entanglement between individuals, resulting in invisible networks of shared knowledge that transcend physical separation. In his landmark book, The Holographic Universe, researcher Michael Talbot combined these insights to create a unified model of reality that includes synchronicity. These aren't aberrations. They're natural representations of the universe's holographic structure. Talbot claimed that the universe behaves like a huge hologram, with each small portion containing all of the system's information, much as each fragment of a hologram holds the entire image. Each moment could contain information about the entire universe. Talbot's holographic model explains exactly why synchronicities occur in a holographic reality. The division of events is fundamentally imaginary. What appears distant in conventional space and time stays inextricably linked at the level of the underlying information field. Synchronicities are merely instances in which this fundamental connectivity is temporarily accessible in conscious perception. These discoveries are systematically suppressed by the dominant scientific paradigm because they threaten its fundamental assumptions. A cosmos in which awareness directly influences matter, and in which events separated by space and time can be meaningfully linked without direct physical causation, is irreconcilable with the mechanical materialism that underpins present power systems. Talbot's holographic world theory, together with Grinberg's experimental demonstration of the neural field, gives a comprehensive scientific foundation for interpreting synchronicity as a fundamental aspect of reality, rather than superstition or wishful thinking. This approach seamlessly integrates ancient spiritual teachings with cutting-edge breakthroughs in quantum physics, neuroscience, and information theory. This knowledge's persistent marginalization reflects ideological resistance to its significant revolutionary consequences, rather than a lack of evidence. A true knowledge of synchronicity jeopardizes not only old scientific theories, but also social, economic, and political structures that rely on the illusion of separation and personal impotence. Throughout your life, you've been trained to see reality as a collection of disconnected events governed by the harsh laws of chance and probability. This fractured vision is not just incomplete, but also purposely misleading. This is the underlying reality that relatively few individuals are willing to publicly admit. Nothing happens on accident. Nothing ever. Every contact, experience, and passing thought that reaches your consciousness is meticulously planned inside an invisible network that connects everything. This invisible network operates on the principles of energetic resonance and vibrational correspondence, rather than the limiting laws of classical physics. Even when no physical contact is made, two guitar strings tuned to the same note vibrate together. Your personal energetic frequency, determined by your dominating ideas, emotions, and states of consciousness, will inevitably draw events that correspond to that frequency. The vibratory state you maintain is not some abstract metaphysical concept, but a demonstrable neurobiological reality caused by the magnetic fields produced by your heart and brain. These electromagnetic energies stretch beyond the confines of your physical body and interact with the quantum field that underpins material reality. Every thought you have, every emotion you feel, physically alters the composition of this field, drawing events that match your own energetic imprint. Jacobo Grinberg studied this phenomenon using precise neurological tests, demonstrating how internal mental processes cause unique interference patterns in the neural field, which he defined as the underlying matrix of information and energy that underpins physical matter. His research revealed that emotions such as fear, wrath, and shortage cause chaotic, destructive patterns in this field, whereas states such as love, appreciation, and serenity produce harmonic, high-coherence patterns. What you see as exterior reality is simply a physical representation of these vibrating patterns. Negative synchronicities, recurring impediments, disastrous relationships, and continuous financial difficulties are not cosmic retribution, but rather accurate input from the field reflecting your dominating internal states. Similarly, wonderful synchronicities, unexpected opportunities, life-changing encounters, and creative breakthroughs are all natural expressions of interior states of expansion and opportunity. This insight fundamentally changes how we approach problem solving and goal achievement. Instead of relying solely on willpower and effort to achieve results, conscious people learn to adjust their internal frequency first, understanding that external events would eventually reorganize to match this new energetic signature. This is why some people appear to effortlessly attract success, love, and plenty, and others struggle despite working far harder. They have intuitively learned the technique of frequency alignment. The most successful entrepreneurs, artists, and innovators in history have intuitively comprehended this notion. Even without the scientific words to express it, people learn to trust their inner guidance system and make judgments based on what feels energetically connected rather than what appears most reasonable on paper. Steve Jobs described it as following your intuition and faith that it will lead you somewhere worthwhile. What he was really discussing was navigation by synchronistic awareness. Modern neuroscience has revealed the specific brain networks that control this intuitive navigation system. Individuals who experience meaningful synchronicity on a regular basis have greater connectedness in their default mode network, which is active during rest and contemplation. This network appears to act as an internal GPS system, continually monitoring the quantum world for patterns and possibilities that are consistent with your real expression. The pineal gland, sometimes known as the third eye in spiritual traditions, is vital in this process. Recent study has revealed that the pineal gland contains magnetite crystals that respond to electromagnetic fields, basically acting as a biological compass for navigating the quantum field's informational currents. When you get a sudden intuition about which direction to go or which decision to make, you are literally receiving magnetic guidance from the field via your biological navigation system. This reality creation mechanism works whether you believe in it or not. Just as the law of gravity, does not require your permission to function, whether you are conscious of it. The law of vibrational resonance determines your experience. The key difference is that, whereas gravity acts automatically, you have direct control over your vibrational frequency. Once you grasp the fundamental mechanism, contemporary quantum physics confirms Talbot's holographic universe theory. At its most fundamental, reality is made up of probability fields that only collapse in specified states when observed, rather than concrete things separated in empty space. Your consciousness is more than just a passive witness of this process. It is an active participant in selecting which possibilities become real experiences. The seeming mysteries of quantum physics, such as superposition, non-locality, and quantum entanglement, are only puzzling when examined through the narrow lens of mechanistic materialism. When viewed as natural representations of a fundamentally holographic universe, each portion contains the whole, and awareness and matter are complementary parts of the same underlying reality. These mysteries are revealed as elegant and predictable properties of the universe. The perceived separation between yourself and the world is the principal illusion concealing this fundamental truth. Your awareness is not locked inside your brain, experiencing the outside world via the limited windows of your physical senses. It's a non-local field that penetrates and continuously interacts with the larger universal field. Moment by moment, you co-create what you see to be objective reality. Spiritual traditions that educate you to construct your own reality don't use meaningless motivational platitudes or feel-good metaphors. They are stating a literal truth about the nature of existence, one that is purposefully obscured by institutions that rely on your docile acceptance of an apparently fixed and unchanging reality. When you realize that synchronicity is not an exception, but rather the fundamental law of the universe, your entire perspective on life changes dramatically. There are no victims of random chance, only unconscious co-creators. There are no fortunate or unlucky coincidences, simply specific expressions of your dominating energy frequency. The invisible network that pervades all existence is not an external force acting on you. Rather, it is the medium through which your own consciousness flows, expresses itself. As a concrete experience, the universe is always speaking with you via a beautiful language that transcends words. A language of symbols, numbers, and patterns that most people have been taught to ignore. This communication is not random or unintentional, but rather a complex feedback mechanism meant to bring you back into alignment with your true nature. Symbols act as links between the visible and invisible worlds, the explicit and implicit, between conscious and unconscious consciousness. Repeating number patterns are the most visible manifestations of this symbolic language. When you see sequences like 1 1, 1, 2, 2, 2, 3, 3, 3, or 1 2, 3 4 frequently appearing on license plates, receipts, clocks, or addresses, you are not witnessing statistical coincidences, but coded messages geared particularly at your mind. Each numerical sequence has a unique vibration and conveys a special message. The sequence 1, 1, 1, for example, traditionally indicates the beginning of accelerated manifestation, in which your thoughts appear more swiftly than usual. The 2 to 2 pattern typically signals that you're on the correct track, even when external data suggests otherwise. The repetition 3, 3, 3 is sometimes seen as proof of support from higher planes of consciousness. These are not random interpretations, but well-documented trends noticed by thousands of people over many years. Encounters with specific animals at meaningful times are another example of this universal language. When a hawk crosses your path just as you're about to make a crucial decision, or when a butterfly appears several times during a period of personal transfer formation. These are not coincidences, but deliberate communication. Each animal possesses unique vibrational frequencies that correspond to different parts of human consciousness. In his studies on the holographic cosmos, Michael Talbot observed that these symbols serve as holographic triggers, connecting your particular awareness to the larger informational field. When you come across one of these symbols at a key moment, your local consciousness immediately synchronizes. And there's the universal holographic matrix, which allows information to be transferred beyond the constraints of space and time. Prophetic dreams reflect another aspect of symbolic communication. When you dream about an event that subsequently occurs in physical reality, you are not passively anticipating the future, but rather accessing a field of non-local possibilities that exist outside of time's linear limitations. This access occurs naturally during sleep, when the cognitive filters that ordinarily limit your perception to 3 physical dimensions relax, allowing you to perceive reality more directly. The deepest level of symbolic communication is defined by its multidimensional character, archetypal language, and universal patterns of meaning that transcend specific cultures and historical periods. When archetypal patterns such as the hero's journey, the wise teacher, or the guardian of the threshold appear in your life through specific experiences, you are not experiencing coincidences, but rather the precise unfolding of your own evolutionary journey. Each archetype represents a distinct set of lessons and triggers for consciousness evolution. Conventional science does not recognize this sophisticated symbolic language since it relies on meaning rather than mechanical causes. Meaning is intrinsically subjective and contextual, making it impossible to measure using the reductionist approaches of scientific materialism. This methodological constraint is frequently cited as proof that the phenomena does not exist, whereas in fact it only demonstrates the inherent shortcomings of the materialist paradigm for comprehending non-physical components of reality. Digital synchronicities constitute a new horizon for symbolic communication. When your phone calls with a critical message just as you were thinking about that person, or when a music starts playing that delivers exactly the message you needed to hear. These aren't random flaws in digital algorithms. They're expressions of the same universal intellect adjusting to new technological extensions of human consciousness. The rise of artificial intelligence and digital technologies has augmented rather than diminished synchronistic communication. Despite their mechanical appearance, AI algorithms use pattern recognition methods that replicate the holographic structure of consciousness. When you see technological synchronicities, such as ads for exactly what you need or a random shuffle playing the perfect song, you are witnessing the quantum field expressing itself through digital networks. Social media platforms, search engines, and recommendation algorithms have unwittingly amplified synchronistic communication. The same quantum laws that regulate meaningful coincidences in physical reality now operate through digital networks, resulting in technologically synchronized cities that direct you to people, information, and opportunities that are compatible with your evolution. As a result, you may come across the perfect movie, article, or post at random, at the ideal moment. The program does more than just analyze your data. It also channels the synchronized flow of information. Even more fascinating is the phenomena known as digital twin flames. People who experience uncanny synchronicity through online encounters, despite never meeting in person, may publish similar thoughts at the same time, experience technical issues at the same time, or learn they were online at the same time without coordination. These digital synchronicities imply that mind generates entanglement across any media, including virtual networks. The internet serves as humanity's technical nervous system, allowing synchronized communication to flow instantaneously across global networks. When someone on the other side of the world shares just the insight you needed to read, or when a seemingly random click leads you to a piece of information that changes the course of your life, you're experiencing the internet as a means for collective consciousness and communication. The most crucial thing to remember is that this symbolic language runs continuously, whether you realize it or not. The ability to consciously notice and interpret these indicators, rather than the presence or absence of these signs, distinguishes people who appear to live lives ruled by chance from those who navigate precisely through important synchronicities. Your societal indoctrination was specifically designed to prevent this recognition. You were trained from an early age to dismiss as imagination or coincidence any encounters that revealed your intimate link with the universe's intelligent field. This indoctrination is not an accident. It is a deliberate effort to hinder mankind from realizing its natural ability to navigate multidimensional reality intuitively. The first step in breaking free from this restrictive conditioning is to simply start paying attention. Observe the patterns that arise in your life. Examine which symbols, numbers, animals, or themes show frequently at key occasions. Keep a record of these events without passing judgment or making quick interpretations. You'll gradually learn to detect coherent patterns, which are the unique signature of how the universe interacts with you. I'd love to hear about your synchronicity encounters in the comments section below. What patterns have you discovered in your life that are too profound to be a coincidence? The idea that your emotions directly influence your reality is not a mystical spiritual notion, but rather a demonstrable neurobiological fact. Your emotional experience extends beyond the confines of your physical body. It produces measurable electromagnetic waves that reach well beyond your physical bounds and interact directly with the environment around you. This is not a poetic metaphor, but rather an actual reality documented by advanced scientific tools. The HeartMath Institute, a prominent scientific group, has demonstrated that the electromagnetic field created by the human heart is approximately 60 times stronger in amplitude than that produced by the brain and can be detected several meters away from the body. This field is not static. It fluctuates considerably depending on your emotional state. Emotions like fear, anxiety, and rage cause chaotic and incoherent patterns in this sector, while emotions like gratitude, love, and compassion produce highly coherent and harmonious patterns. Jacobo Grinberg extensively documented how these emotional fields interact with what he called the neuronal field, the fundamental matrix of information energy that underpins physical reality. His tests showed that negative emotional states caused damaging interference patterns in this field, thus destroying the quantum possibilities for manifestation. Positive emotional states generate constructive interference patterns, which increase and arrange these possibilities. What does this imply in practical terms? Simply put, your dominant emotional frequency not only reflects your internal reality, but it also shapes the field of possibilities that will appear as your exterior experience. When you remain in emotional states of fear, scarcity, or victimization, you are physically tuning off the frequencies that contain your solutions, opportunities, and meaningful connections. The human brain largely operates as a filtering device, not a perceiving mechanism, for the billions of bits of information available at any given time. Only a small portion of what your brain processes reaches your conscious awareness. This filtering process is not unbiased or objective, but is heavily influenced by your current emotions. When you are in fear, your brain actually blocks out information that contradicts your emotional frequency, resulting in a self-reinforcing loop of danger and shortage. Michael Talbot discovered that certain emotional frequencies act as access codes to specific areas of the universal holographic field. When you constantly maintain a specific emotional frequency, you are essentially tuning into the matching channel of multidimensional reality, allowing you to access just the options that resonate with your dominant internal vibration. This understanding of emotional neuroscience explains why different people can have such disparate experiences despite living in the same physical circumstances. They are not only interpreting the same reality in various ways. They are literally accessing and materializing different subsets of an unlimited field of possibilities based on their prevailing emotional frequencies. The ramifications for physical health are as important. Research in psychoneuroimmunology shows that emotional states of fear and chronic stress significantly inhibit immunological activity, whereas moods of love, gratitude, and tranquility improve it. This association is not figurative, but rather physiological. Specific emotional states cause precise hormonal cascades that directly control your immunological response, cellular repair, and gene expression. The conscious transformation of your emotional frequency is thus not an exercise in superficial positive thinking, but rather a precise neurobiological intervention that fundamentally alters not only how you perceive reality, but also which aspects of multidimensional reality you can access and materialize as concrete experience. The most effective way to purposefully elevate your emotional frequency is to cultivate states of gratitude, admiration, and unconditional love, especially in difficult situations. Finding genuine reasons to be grateful immediately resets your cardiac electromagnetic field, adjusting it to higher frequencies of the universal holographic field. Recognizing and interpreting personal synchronicities is not a supernatural talent reserved for a select few gifted individuals, but rather a practical skill that can be deliberately mastered. The first difficulty to overcome is your mind's automatic resistance to disregard these incidents as simple coincidences. This automated dismissal answer is not an accident. It is the direct outcome of societal training, which intentionally suppresses your inherent ability to discern important patterns beyond the surface of physical reality. Begin by keeping a synchronicity notebook to decode your particular synchronistic language. Take careful notes on any events that appear significant, unexpected interactions with repetitive number patterns, dreams that are associated with subsequent occurrences. Thoughts about someone are promptly followed by contact with that individual. The act of intentional documenting establishes a neural attention pattern that automatically enhances your experience of these events. The key to comprehending synchronicities is not imposing arbitrary meanings based on general readings, but rather identifying your own symbolic language while universal archetypes exist. The manifestation of these archetypes in your life is highly personalized. A crow coming at a vital moment may indicate something different to you than it does to someone else. Look for repeated patterns based on your unique experiences, emotional associations, and evolutionary path when mapping your personal synchronistic language. Which symbols, numbers, animals, or events reappear at significant occasions? What precise feelings do you feel when these patterns emerge? Is there a link between certain synchronicities and future decisions or orientations in your life? This mapping eventually reveals a distinct symbolic lexicon, via which the global field communicates directly with you. The distinction between psychological projection and true synchronicity is an important one that is often missed. Projections get meaning from human wishes, anxieties, or expectations, whereas genuine synchronicities have a quality of surprise, precision, and importance that transcends subjective interpretations. The contrast is not immediately visible, but it gets clearer with practice of awakened attention. Michael Talbot discovered that genuine synchronicities frequently have a distinct energy signature, a nearly physical experience of recognition or clicking that resonates at deeper levels than logical reasoning. This impression isn't emotive or fancy. It's a direct perception of the coherence between the external event and its internal meaning, similar to the experience of instantaneously recognizing a complex pattern without conscious thought. Moments of spontaneous flow, in which everything appears to unfold naturally, doors suddenly open, and vital resources materialize exactly when needed, are strong evidence of synchronistic field alignment. Similarly, repeated roadblocks, delays, or systematic impediments generally indicate a disconnect with your true path. These indicators are not punishments or rewards, but rather neutral feedback from the field concerning your level of resonance with your most true expression, which enhances your synchronistic perception. Create everyday periods of mental calm and conscious presence. The hyperactive mind, which is continuously engaged in analysis, judgment, and planning, is unable to recognize tiny patterns of synchronicity. Only when usual cognitive filters are briefly relaxed via meditation, creative activities, or nature immersion will your perception expand enough to notice these subtle communications. Jacobo Grinberg demonstrated how regular mental quiet literally reconfigures the brain networks responsible for perceptual filtering, gradually expanding the amount of information that reaches your conscious awareness. This is not a metaphor, but a measurable neuroplastic rearrangement that radically transforms whatever aspects of multidimensional reality you can see directly in the deepest interpretation of your unique synchronicities develops from thoughtful reflection. No expectations or agendas. Consider which part of your growth or consciousness this pattern illuminates. What dormant quality or potential is being unlocked? Which limiting idea or pattern is being challenged? The most meaningful responses are rarely rational concepts, but rather intuitive insights that resound with a recognizable reality beyond conventional thinking. Leave a comment and tell us about a breakthrough moment or shift in perspective you've had since learning these concepts. Your story might be just what someone else needs to hear right now. Most people spend their entire lives as unwitting participants in the reality creation process. They react automatically to situations, blaming their struggles on poor luck or cosmic unfairness, and celebrating their successes. Fortunate, fateful accidents. This inactivity, which is actively cultivated by organizations that rely on your cooperation, symbolizes the most fundamental waste of human potential, the unconscious surrender of your intrinsic ability. As a purposeful creator of your own experience, the transformation from unconscious creator to conscious co-creator is more than just a philosophical shift. It is a practical revolution in your relationship with reality's matrix. When you recognize that your vibrational frequency directly influences which possibilities manifest as tangible experience, you accept responsibility for not only your external actions, but also the internal states that precede and shape those behaviors. In the professional sphere, this consciousness unfolds as an unexplainable capacity to attract the exact opportunities, connections, and resources required for your genuine expression. Business leaders who operate under this understanding routinely recount seemingly implausible sequences of lucky coincidences. This opens doors that might otherwise be out of reach. They are not manipulating reality via magical means, but rather actively aligning with the natural expression of their actual purpose in personal interactions. Synchronistic awareness dramatically alters the dynamics of interaction. Understanding that each individual in your life is a specific manifestation of your vibrational frequency minimizes the tendency to victimize or blame. Recurring harmful relationships aren't karmic punishments or poor luck, but rather specific feedback on unresolved areas of your own energetic field that unknowingly invite these experiences as opportunities for healing and transformation. This idea explains why people frequently attract the same relationship patterns until they address the underlying energetic distortion. Your love relationships, friends, colleagues, and even challenging family members all act as mirrors, reflecting back specific aspects of your consciousness that need to be addressed. When you heal the internal pattern, the external dynamics shift because the vibrational template that attracted them is no longer there. Advanced practitioners learn to interpret relationships as living synchronicity. They can tell which aspect of their consciousness each person represents and what healing or growth potential the interaction is intended to provide. A domineering partner may represent your own desire to surrender and trust. A dishonest companion might reflect your own proclivity for self-deception. When you're ready to take control of your life, a helpful mentor may come. The most profound relationship synchronicities arise when two people work on complementary areas of their consciousness at the same time. Evolution. These partnerships frequently begin with an immediate identification, a sense of having known each other previously, or a series of seemingly implausible coincidences that connected them. Such relationships are not chance encounters, but rather pre-planned gatherings of individuals committed to mutual awakening. Family relationships are among the most intricate synchronistic arrangements. Children frequently choose parents who will give the exact demanding or supporting environment for their souls. Development. This explains why children's experiences can vary so greatly within the same family. Each is working with individualized, synchronistic arrangements tailored to their specific evolution requirements. Understanding these connection dynamics as synchronistic mirrors radically changes the way you approach social interactions. Instead of reacting emotionally to other people's actions, you learn to ask, what aspect of my consciousness is this individual reflecting? What does this dynamic teach me about myself? This perspective shift quickly transforms interpersonal disputes into opportunities for consciousness advancement. Synchronicity-based decision-making goes much beyond traditional logical analytical methodologies. When correctly comprehended, the synchronistic flow acts as an infallible navigation system, revealing not the simplest or most logical path, but the one that is most aligned with your real progress. Decisions done in accordance with this flow may appear nonsensical by traditional standards, yet they invariably reveal great insight over the course of events. Internal barriers to conscious manifestation are not a lack of technique or understanding, but distortions in the own vibratory field generated by unexamined, limiting ideas. The subconscious belief in shortage, unworthiness, or impending danger generates damaging interference patterns in the quantum field of possibilities, essentially canceling out your conscious attempts at positive manifestation. The detection and transformation of subconscious frequencies are the foundational tasks for any conscious manifester. In a synchronistic universe, the ethics of responsibility goes much beyond conventional moralities based on external authority. When you realize that every thought, emotion, and intention vibrates in the universal field, directly affecting the holographic whole, you naturally adopt a stance of personal integrity based not on fear of punishment, but on the direct understanding that everything you project into the field will inevitably return, amplified as personal experience. This increased responsibility is not a heavy load, but rather the ultimate release from external manipulations that rely on your dissociation from the natural synchronistic flow. A human being fully aligned with their nature as a conscious co-creator is impossible to control through propaganda, fear, or material incentives, posing the most dangerous threat to institutions based on passive adherence to created consensus. The truth regarding synchronicity has long been hidden, not for a lack of proof, but because of its revolutionary potential. An individual who completely comprehends that nothing happens by chance is instantly liberated from the fundamental illusions that underpin contemporary power structures. This insight is more than just cerebral, it is also embodied. Once truly integrated, it forever alters your perception of reality. The most advanced science and spirituality agree on a single, incontrovertible reality. You were never separated from the universe that you observe. Your consciousness is not restricted to your skull, but rather exists as a non-local field that constantly interacts with the larger universal field. This contact isn't incidental or extraneous. It's the precise mechanism by which your reality unfolds moment to moment. Synchronicities in your life are not statistical anomalies. They are the language that the holographic cosmos uses to speak with you directly. Repeating number patterns, significant interactions, prophetic dreams, and strange coincidences are all access points. Your emotional frequency manifests itself when the underlying implicit order becomes obvious within the explicit order of conventional experience. Your prevailing internal states form a vibratory field that directly decides which portions of the infinite field of possibilities appear. As evidence of your concrete experience, fear, lack, and separation literally tune you out of the frequencies where you can find solutions and chances, while appreciation, love, and presence automatically connect you to the synchronistic flow that allows for your most authentic expression. Understanding that nothing in your life happens by random implies that every synchronicity is a direct message from the cosmic field. The question now is, how will you live with this knowledge? Will you continue to ignore the indications that appear all around you? Or will you consciously accept your role as a deliberate architect of your own experience? Consider watching this video again tomorrow morning to reinforce the themes and establish a synchronistic tone for the day. Or better still, share this with someone who is prepared for this level of insight. When you offer consciousness-expanding information like this, you create an energetic ripple effect that not only helps people awaken to their creative ability, but also strengthens your own connection to the synchronistic field and speeds up manifestation for both of you. True transformation begins with acknowledging your position as a co-creator, and the most effective approach to connect with this divine intellect is through meditation and conscious awareness exercises. There are strategies and audio tools that can help you enter these higher levels of awareness and improve your synchronistic perception. When you're ready to pursue this journey seriously, these tools can help you discover the profound, interrelated nature of reality and your own power within it. Now that you've learned how synchronicity works using quantum principles, you should grasp how your consciousness directly influences reality through observation. The double-slit experiment reveals the shocking truth about how your awareness literally collapses quantum possibilities into concrete experience, demonstrating that you're not just receiving synchronistic messages, but actively creating reality moment by moment through conscious observation.